Right, I just want to tackle one question. It's all there. I'm not sure how clear it's going to come out on the video, but it's not too bad from where I'm sitting at the moment. It says copy and complete the diagram by connecting the statements to their proper description. Use a different colour for each type of data. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to draw loads of lines across that page anyway. I'm just going to put a little code next to it. Right, we're actually looking at question 4 on page 35, grade D rated. It's getting semi-serious now. Now look at the first one, if you can read it, that is. We have length of fish caught in a competition. Now, it is quantitative data because it involves numbers, but a fish has no fixed whole number length of centimetres or metres if it's a giant thing, so it's a continuous measure. So length is a continuous measure. We're involving numbers, so that's quantitative and continuous. So if I put here Q and C, that'll be my code for quantitative and continuous. So if I go Q, C there, if I just go Q for qualitative or QU, quantitative and discrete, Q and D. Remember, discrete is a whole number of something, and quantity is clearly what it's about since we're chatting about numbers. Qualitative has got nothing to do with numbers at all, and I've just mentioned the quantitative and continuous. So these are the codes I'll be using. Right, the number of goals scored by a football team. Well, number of goals, we're talking quantity, and therefore that's numbers. So it's a quantitative piece of data, and it has to be discrete. You can't say my team scored 3.9 goals. They nearly got the fourth. No, they did not. They either get 3 goals or 4 goals. So that's going to be quantitative and discrete. So that's going to be Q and D. Alright. Next one, the ages of teachers in a school. Again, we're talking about quantity here, and I would say it's going to be discrete because we tend to quote ages as a whole number of years. So we don't go about saying I'm 23 years, 4 months, 1 week, 2 days, 6 hours, and get all ridiculous. So the ages of teachers at school will be discrete. So that'll be Q and a D. Next one, favourite colours in the tutor group. Well, that's all about quality. So that's going to be quality and QU for quality. There you go. Favourite colours in the tutor group. Now, suppose if I asked everyone what's your favourite colour, and I gave them a list to choose from, red, blue, green, purple, white, whatever, and everyone had to choose one, then we're actually talking about discrete and quantitative. But just reading it as it is, favourite colours in the tutor group, I'm going to go for qualitative there. Next one, number of sweets in a bag. Well, talk about numbers now, so it's quantity or quantitative, and you have whole numbers of sweets, so that's going to be discrete as well. Alright. Favourite type of music. That is so clearly 100% quantitative. How do you qualitative rather? How do you quantify favourite type of music? My favourite type of music is rock and roll, heavy metal, R&B, whatever. But if I'm not going to start asking people, now, how many of you like one of these different types of music genre, then it's not going to be quantitative whatsoever. But favourite type of music, if you're asking one person, asking what's your favourite type of music, then that is a qualitative measure. A person's foot length, again numbers, so it's quantity, but length is not a discrete variable, it is continuous. Again, you don't have to have a whole number of centimetres to feet, so it's going to be quantitative and continuous. Alright, a person's shoe size, well, that's quantity again. I'm shoe size 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Even if you go to 9.5s, you can't say, well, actually, I'm slightly bigger than a 9.5. I'm actually a 9.5378 recurring shoe size. They don't make them, I'm sorry, unless you have them made to measure. But anyway, so a person's foot size is both quantitative, but it has to be discrete because you can only buy shoes in certain sizes. Alright? The cost of stamps, well, that costs money, so it's quantitative, that's to do with numbers. But again, you have fixed prices for stamps. You won't get a 32.83 pence stamp. You get a 32 pence stamp perhaps, but it will be a whole number, so it's quantitative and discrete. And the best player in the Wales rugby team, well, that's all about quality. So it's qualitative measure, QU. Alright, I mean, however you define what the best player is or who the best player is or whatever criteria you use, it's very hard to use numbers against that. Let's just say scored so many tries in the first 3 games of the season, in which case you're working towards a quantitative measure of the quality of that player. But if I said to you, who's the best player in the Wales rugby team, who's the best player in Man United or whatever, you all have different opinions, but it will essentially be a qualitative measure in the same way as who's your best rock band, what's your best genre of music, or that sort of thing. Alright, so I'm going to stop right there. And that, right, I want to give an extra example of how we apply this qualitative, quantitative, discrete and continuous. I'm going to use question 7 on page 35, and I just tack this onto the other video I've just done. It'll probably appear as just one video when I've merged them together. So question 7a on page 35 then. So we're looking at page, let's just select a pen. Right, red's good. So I'm looking at page 35, question 7, and this is question 7a. I've got to write down this. I want a piece of qualitative data about a jumper that someone has knitted for me. So okay, my nan's knit me a jumper for Christmas and I've got to give a piece of qualitative data about it. Well, if my jumper is blue, I can write down my jumper is blue, and for that reason I'm going to change to blue. So e.g. the jumper is blue, and that is a piece of qualitative data. Alright, 7a is done. 7b now. I'll read it first. Qualitative discrete data about the football team that you support. So I want quantitative data, and it must be discrete as well. Okay, so let's revise. Quantitative to do with numbers, data, and it must be discrete, whole numbers therefore. So e.g. a piece of quantitative discrete data, my team scored 2 goals on Saturday, not 2.6 goals. We can't say, oh, we nearly got 3 goals on Saturday. We did not nearly get 3 goals on Saturday, because we can't get 2.6 goals. The choice is 2 goals or 6 goals, or 3 goals or whatever. It's got to be a whole number. So e.g. my team scored 2 goals last Saturday. Is that alright? So that's both quantitative and discrete. Part C of question 7, they want something quantitative and continuous. And continuous. And of course it's data, isn't it? Right, it says quantitative continuous data about the launch of a space rocket. Well, what can we say? It took I don't know, 1.368 minutes to leave the Earth's atmosphere. Alright, or I can say the weight of the rocket was, I don't know, I haven't got a clue, 728 tons. Now I know I've given that as a whole number and it appears to be discrete, but it doesn't have to be one whole number of tons, or even a whole number of kilograms, or even grams, or even bits of a gram. So it's a number that does not have to be a whole number, although I'm quoting it as a whole number. So it's quantitative numbers, it's a piece of data, information given, and it is continuous, alright, because of the nature of the piece of data. D, primary data you might collect about your maths homework. So they want primary data. Now, primary data does not have to be numbers. It could be things like, when do you do your maths homework? It could be things like, where do you do your maths homework? And if you want to get quantitative with your investigation, you can say, how long do you spend on your maths homework? Is that alright? So all this is primary. When, where, how long, and you can even give options. For example, I don't know, less than 1 hour. You can say from 1 hour, but less than 2 hours. And you give another option, for example, 2 hours, but less than 3 hours. And another one could just say sort of other, or it could be like over 3 hours or something. Alright, so in first instance we're talking about primary data, when, where or how long. That would be quantitative as well. And the last one, not about maths homework, it says I must get some secondary data about keeping a pet rat. Well, I don't like rats. I'd quite like to have a little goat one day, but anyway, not a pet rat. Anyway, I've got some secondary data about trying to keep a pet rat. Well, secondary data, it means I can go online on the internet and type in things like what are the living conditions for a pet rat, what does a pet rat eat, how often must it be fed, how often must you clean out its cage, what kind of bedding does it need. All this is secondary data that could be found out online, from a magazine, from a page, from almost anywhere. You can get data that has been published for you. So secondary data about your pet rat, where can you go? E.g. go online. You can even ask at a shop, obviously a pet shop. Don't go and ask them in Tesco's, give me some secondary data about keeping a pet rat please. I don't think they sell them there, not now anyway. So okay, so online, ask at a pet shop, and anything else. Alright, so that's secondary data for your pet rat. I'm going to sign it off right now, just up here somewhere. Let's change colours, shall we? Let's put yellow nice and loud. Sign it right there. So this is Mr. C signing off with some